And I call the member for Hasluck.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on the Social Security Legislation Amendment Bill, the Green Army program. Let me say that I've always been interested in the program as it operated previously under the Howard government, because what I saw was young people being given the opportunity to acquire skills, but also to acquire discipline within a team process and demonstrate for the future that they were very capable young workers who would fit into the workplace in which they sought opportunity, and it provided them with a practical experience which enabled them then to convince employers of the future that they were somebody worth considering. But equally, a number went into tertiary pathways and undertook studies in the area that had tweaked their interests, and they've gone on to be very successful, some working with mining companies. But when we talk about the Green Army project, we're talking about a coalition plan aimed at bringing together 15,000 people. It'll be the largest standing environmental workforce in Australia's history, and to provide real and practical solutions to cleaning up riverbanks and creek beds, revegetating sand dunes and mangrove habitat, among other environmental conservation remediation work. See, the Green Army provides an incredible opportunity for young Australians aged 17 to 24 to train and gain experiences and gain competencies in environmental and heritage conservation. Question Time today raised the issue of workforce opportunities. I've heard members opposite find reasons not to support this initiative. But when we consider young people's pathways into careers, then this is one mechanism and one opportunity that will enable them to do so, because the participants will undertake nationally recognised training qualifications, and they will complete core and elective units, which include, for example, Certificate 2 in Conservation and Land Management, Certificate in Drainage, Certificate 1 in Construction. But they will also be dealing with occupational health safety issues in the context of that training. And this will enable individuals to embark on a career in conservation management while participating in projects that generate real benefits for the local environment and the heritage conservation projects across Australia. And I'd agree and support the sentiments expressed by the member for Banks that there are areas that require some particular focus of attention. Often it is volunteers that do the work, but when you have an army of people that help you, then you increase your capacity to undertake the remediation of our environment. The program will cover costs associated with the involvement of the team, such as participant allowances, team supervisors' wages, uniforms, safety gear, basic equipment such as hand tools, participant training, local transport costs and insurances. And the Green Army is an ongoing program that will have 250 projects in 2014-15, 500 projects in 2015-16 and 750 projects in 2016-17. In my electorate of Hasluck, there are 3 Green Army projects, one in the north of my electorate, centred on Midland, one in central Wattle Grove and Forestfield, and the third in the southern corridor of Gosnells and Thornley. And as a member, I've been interested in the environment, and certainly when you consider Hasluck takes in the suburbs of Guildford, Swan Valley, Kalamunda, Gooseberry Hill, Forestfield, Wattle Grove and Gosnells, just to name a few, and the bordering foothills of the Darling Range, then you have an enriched environment that is unique in its flora and fauna. And so it's no surprise to people who visited these places that the environment and environmental issues are high in importance for many of my constituents. And when I meet with constituents and environmental groups in my electorate, I make the point to tell them that I've had a long association with our environment and that in Hasluck we will now have 3 Green Army projects. And I'm proud to be a member of this Abbott government in which the Minister, Greg Hunt, has given a commitment to enable this to occur. And when we make a commitment, we tell the Australian public that we are going to do something, and then we deliver on our word. And let me say that with the projects, it was great when we announced the 3 Army projects that Senator Simon Birmingham, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for the Environment last August, helped me launch the 3 Green Army projects in my electorate. And it was interesting in interacting with people involved at their support and their surprise at the level of commitment that we were prepared to make to protect the environment, but equally to give people the opportunity of acquiring the competencies and skills in conservation. He joined me at Tom Bateman Reserve in Thornley, which is a part of the Southern Green Army project. The City of Gosnell's plan for Tom Bateman Reserve is to restore the natural environment which is currently being used as a dumping ground. During my recent rounds of meetings with local governments, it was concerning to hear that nature reserves within their boundaries are being used as dumping grounds for household, building and garden waste. I'm confident through the Green Army that sites such as the Tom Bateman Reserve can be fostered by Green Army teams and, through the support of the community, ensure that these community assets are maintained at the highest standard and realise their full potential. I would love to have gone back into those regions some 40,000 years ago and had a look at the natural environment, the waterways, the richness of the unique species that would have existed in each area, and then the relationship that was had with the environment and the land. It is important that we ensure the nature reserves we have are maintained and preserved to a standard so they can be used and enjoyed by families in the area. Tom Bateman Reserve is a classic example of this, and I'm pleased that the Green Army's program will help deliver social and environmental benefits for my electorate. Our collective aim in the region is for Tom Bateman Reserve to be revegetated, regenerate natural bushland and construct walkways to allow people to have access to a beautiful area of nature. Another nature reserve in this eastern corridor which will benefit through the Green Army program is the Mary Carroll Park. This area backs on to the Gosnells Primary School, which has a vested interest in the area being a safe and welcoming community space. And through the program, the area will become aesthetically pleasing and can be used again by families in the school to experience the natural bushland. What's been fascinating in having the relationship with the friends of the area is that walking groups and bird-watching groups are already using the site for their activities so that they will benefit immensely. Mary Carroll Park has a large breeding wetland area. It supports large numbers of water birds, songbirds, reptiles, turtles and a reservoir of wetland flora. And it's been interesting in looking at, when the season is dry, that the animals diminish. But the work of Eunice and Robinson and her team has meant that they have regenerated areas that were destroyed by fire or that were damaged by people dumping rubbish, and they have replanted the vegetation that is natural to the area. And in doing so, they have revitalised the community's interest. And the work that they're doing with the support of a Green Army will see greater enhancement of a very rich natural wetland that will be enjoyed by all. The construction of walkways are always important in some of our wetland areas because it means that people don't trample through and damage those areas that are unique to the region. This also includes the way in which they are now considering the mangrove planting and the riverbed revegetation, and I've been involved throughout my term as a member of going out and volunteering and spending periods of time planting the right plants and learning much about the complexity of the interrelatedness between the vegetation and the animals that live there. I saw a program when I first was elected of young people who were working at Lesmurdie Falls, and they were graduating from the program of their involvement. And what I saw was two things that really stood out. One was the immense pride of having been involved in the program and having acquired the competencies, but acquiring a confidence in an area that they had not been involved in. And hearing them talk about what they had learnt at school and then being able to apply it as a skill within the context of the work that they were doing. And I asked them about the regulated hours of work, and all of them said this has been a great process for us because it's enabled us to commit to a team, to be part of a workforce and to be part of earning an income. Some of those kids otherwise would have been on the streets, and I quite likely suspect that some of them would have ended up in incarceration, because these are Aboriginal kids who had dropped out of school, who had not gone into the further pathways that we expect all children to go. In my own electorate, I have an increasing rate of unemployment. And if the Green Army provides a framework and a structure that will enable them to move into a mindset of what it's like to be in the workplace, then this legislation will do that. They will not live in poverty, as was suggested by a couple, but they will in fact feel as though they are contributing to their environment, but also to their community. And in the Brixton wetlands area, another unique area that is suffering from major degradation, despite excellent efforts by the local friends of the Brixton Street wetlands. And Brixton Street wetland in Kenwick is an extraordinary mixture of wetland containing over 320 plant species and more than 20% of Perth's flora in just a 0.005% of Perth's area. The work that they do as a Green Army will preserve and maintain and protect an area that is of quality. And they'll be working to ensure that the species that are rare and endangered will have an environment in which they are not competing with local weeds. Over 97% of the bushland on this waterlogged soil had been cleared for agricultural housing, making Brixton Street wetland so important, and so therefore the Green Army initiative will provide the opportunity. I commend the Minister for having the vision to resurrect and to reinstitute the Green Army program, because to me it tackles two key issues. One is it brings forward our coalition commitment to the environment, to the preservation of the bushlands, parks, the rivers, the wetlands that are so important in key areas. But I think the underlying issue that is more important is the fact that it is giving an employment pathway and an opportunity to the young people who may have left school, who've not considered what their career pathway may be, and who through this program will be given the opportunity of connecting to a learning course, either within a TAFE sector or ultimately within a university. And then they can decide what full-time employment that they will seek from that training. And some have been left wondering what they're going to do, and this provides them with a practical approach where they become involved. As detailed by the Minister for the Environment, the Honourable Greg Hunt, the Green Army program will be a voluntary opt-in program that will involve short-term placements in a Green Army team. And where practicable, participants in the Green Army program will generally receive a Green Army allowance as an alternative to receiving income support, and the program will provide work-like experiences and activities and training opportunities for young people. We are clear in this policy that the Section 38H, which is inserted into the Social Security Act to state that despite any other provision of Social Security law, a Social Security benefit or Social Security pension is not payable to a person if the person is receiving Green Army allowance. In essence, they will receive one or the other, not both, but is consistent with our philosophy of giving people a help up and not a handout. And so, Deputy Speaker, I commend the bill and certainly acknowledge the Minister's vision and contribution to two key elements of the environment and future employment pathways for young people. Thank you.